Greetings and blessings. My name is Dustin Dunbar. I've been doing a video series on the law of attraction, and I did last week's about the law of forgiveness, and this one goes on to that, and this one's actually perfect for the 4th of July coming up. And what is it? It's the law of sacrifice. Now, the law of sacrifice is one of the most misunderstood laws there is. Why is that? And, the law of sacrifice is all about discipline and sacrifice. Now, we must follow our inner desires when we want to apply this law. It means to be aware of something, that we're going to receive something new, but we're also going to give something away. Okay, everything has its price. Now, this law invokes the law of success. With the right efforts, you can achieve success. Now, we are all born to succeed. The universe wants you to succeed. The universe wants you to have abundance. The universe wants you to have joy. The universe wants you to have success. So that's why there is the law of success. And there's this one, the law of sacrifice, letting you know that you have to give something in order to get something. The law of sacrifice, we put a step forward in growth in every sacrifice that you make. And as Bob Proctor says, sacrifice is giving up something of a lower nature to receive something of a higher nature. And therefore, you're not really giving up something, but you're trading for it for something else. And that's the key. You're not just giving up something that you think is good for nothing, right? Sometimes we think about that because of our military, who, I'm sorry, this is 4th of July, but, you sacrifice your life for a greater cause, for your country, but somebody could look at that the other way. So that's why I'm saying that. But as Bob Proctor's saying, is that you can sacrifice something in the moment to be able to get something greater in the future. And you're not really sacrificing it. It's a mental thing, right? You got to act like you're trading something. You're trading, a card for a better card in the future, or whatever analogy you want to use there. But that's what you're doing here. And so in order for us to use this law, we got to determine first, what do we want? What do you want in life, right? And then the next step we got to figure out is the steps to accomplish that goal. And I went through that with the law of success, but also the law of sacrifice ties into that. And that's all about making the choices that we want, and then what we need and what we really, really want. And so, what are you willing to give up to sacrifice in order to get your goals? And for example, let's say you want that new car, right? And you have to give up, let's say you got to give up TV, cut the cord, start streaming. Sacrifice that morning coffee. Stop going to Starbucks in that drive-thru and paying $5 for a cup of coffee. Let's say you don't go on vacation as much. Maybe you're like me that like to go on like 3 or 4 vacations a year. Stop going on vacations all the time and eat out less. That's a big one, right? We all like to enjoy going out and eating all the time, but we have to cut back for our goals and sacrifice in order to get what we want, which is that new car, right? So those are just an example of the law of sacrifice. You're sacrificing the small things in order to get the big thing you want in life. And the law of sacrifice is all about knowing what you want and how you can sacrifice the small things in order to get them. But I know sacrifice scares the hell out of a lot of people, right? And, it's all about balance, though. See, in order to get what you want, you have to give. And it's creating that balance in order to get what you want. See, when most people hear that, like they said, they're like, no way, I can't give up that. Or then that's a resistance process, and it just scares them. And then they go into that fear. And, you got to look at it not as sacrifice, but as trading, like as Bob Proctor was trying to teach us. That, sacrifice something for the sake of something else, right? But, this law also gives us something good in return. And that's what the whole goal is that you got to give something in that present moment in order to get something better in the future. And that's what this law of sacrifice is trying to teach us here. We hear this word all the time and we're just like scared and we're like, no way, I can't do that. And that resistance starts happening. But therefore, if you want to go into shape, guess what you got to do? You got to sacrifice yourself to go to the gym. If you want to work hard, you got to work hard to get what you desire. And If you want to be healthy, you got to give up processed food and sugary snacks in order to be healthy, and trade that junk food in for healthy food, right? In order to be healthy in life, we have to make the sacrifices in order to achieve our goal. Now, you have to remember that sacrificing is only something temporary. It's just something temporary for something greater in the future. So, we look at it, the word sacrifice, and we already have these negative connotations in our head, right? But, Bob Proctor, and what I'm trying to tell you as well is trade it. Don't look at it as sacrifice. Look at it as you're trading something temporary to get something better in the future. And that's a good mindset to have when you apply this law of sacrifice. See, when we're all using sacrifice, we have to make sure that first, is the goal worth it, right? Is it worth the sacrifice to be able to get what we want in the future? Or else, a lot of us would be doing this. But I'm trying to teach you that whatever you put your desire on, put your focus on it. Then you have to make small sacrifices in order to achieve the larger goal sometimes. And, it's discipline is the key, right? You have to have that discipline to be able to sacrifice. And as, Bobby Bolden, one of the, coaches, because you probably hear coaches say all this all the time, right? And he was one that said, discipline to me is sacrifice. It's willing to give up something you want to do so you can make yourself better. Beautiful. Thank you, Bobby. And what we're trying to do is, what are we trying to get for our efforts? We got to work hard, and we got to have discipline, and we have to have sacrifice to get your goals. And when we sacrifice, we're able to sacrifice that present moment just to get a better future for tomorrow. And as Jim Rohn said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. So you got to have that discipline. You have to have that sacrifice. You got to build that bridge to come to what you want to get in life. Now, if we want to become better at something, it's all about what we want, right? And we got to have that, sacrifice and that, disciplined state of mind in order to be able to do it. The law of sacrifice says you can't just get something without giving up something. But in order to get what you really, 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 really want, you have to give up something. And most of the time, it's that lesser value. It's only our minds that think, oh, I'm giving up something and I don't know if it's worth it and I don't want to do that. And then what are you doing? You're creating the resistance process. And what does the resistance process do? Block the manifestation process in order for you to get what you want. And that's why I'm going through these universal laws, is to show you kind of these examples in everyday life that we have and block this stuff. Like my dad, he would always, he was never really around when I was a kid. He had to sacrifice his time with me in order to be a successful businessman in the future. And now he's really successful. And, but he did give up some of that time. But I understand that because he had to sacrifice and move around. And he didn't just stay in one place. He moved from state to state to state, and just to sacrifice and be able to create a better life for not just him, but me and the whole family. So thank you, Dad, for that. And I understand that now about how you sacrificed all that hard work in order to get what you want. Now, the law of sacrifice is this path of setting your goals and being able to manifest them into reality. And the problem is a lot of us keep denying this law, right? And we keep, saying, keep from the progression of life, and we fight this resistance. Like I was saying, to reach your goals, you got to move forward and leave all this stuff behind. And when we fail to understand this law, like a lot of us do, we learn to resist it and regret it. And then when we have that regret, then we're unhappy. And then we start, blaming. And then that blame process starts to happen. And, then you blame life, and you say, oh, this is, and then you say, oh, then you give the reasons why life doesn't agree with you. And we're all been there. But what I'm telling you here, we put a personal value system on everything that we do, right? Is it worth it or not? And the law of sacrifice reveals this and, operates that and says, what do we find value in? And then that personal value system kicks in. Is it worth it? And then, sometimes we say, oh, that's not worth it. And we get unhappy. And then we fail to acknowledge the sacrifice of being able to get what we want, without work. How often do we hear this, get rich quick schemes, you got to go, oh, you only need to work from home for 3 hours a day and make, $100,000 a year. Sorry, folks, it doesn't exist. You know, you got to put in the work in order to get what you want in this world. And this is what this law is about, the law of sacrifice. You got to sacrifice your hard work and time in order to get what you want. Just like a baseball player, you see them go out there and hitting home runs and base hits, but you don't see the sacrifice and the effort that they made every single day to be able to do those things. Every single day they were out there throwing the ball, hitting the ball, catching it, and they make it look effortless, and all we see is the results. Just like that beautiful garden I used in a few examples ago. You know, you only see the beautiful garden. You don't see all the love and energy and the sacrifice and the time that it took in order to make that beautiful garden. Just like us, our time is energy, and that energy we sacrifice for money. And so, you know, we're sacrificing even our present moment for money and materialistic things. Now think about it. What are you trying to get in your world? Manifest those into reality. The most important question I have to ask you is, what are you willing to do to get your goals and to attain them? And what are you willing to give up? All right. My name is Dustin Dunbar. Please follow me on theuniversalconsciousness.org, or you can follow me on my spiritual community on Facebook. And as well, follow me and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like what I'm hearing. God bless you and have a great day.